Welcome to the Legacy Sips and Tips podcast with your host, Lindsay Wheeler. So in this episode today, we're not going to talk about estate planning and dying. We're going to talk about something that I really, truly love. I mean, I do love estate planning and dying, but not as much as I love books and reading, because reading is fundamental. So we'll start out with one of my favorite books as a childhood. My child. My favorite book as a child is going to be called King of the Wind. You'll also see a theme when we go through this, which is really weird and unintentional. But, okay, as a young girl, as young girls do, we like horses. I like this book, and in fact, I got this off of the old eBay, and it was a school district book because it was in the library. And it's super cool. It's about this Arabian horse who was like this crazy, amazing, beautiful horse, was a royalty horse, had some ups and downs in its life. It was a working horse. It was just had some trials and tribulations, but it's a really cool book. It's one of my favorite books. I used to sneak off to the library because I hated people even as a child and would read this book in the library. So here's the first one. So King of the Wind, the story of the Gulfin Arabian by Marguerite Henry, illustrated by Wesley Dennis. I don't even know when this book came out. Probably a long time ago, obviously, because I'm old as fuck. Let's see when this book came out. 1948 is when this book was originally written. I almost said 1942 because I would have been pretty good. Yeah, first printing 1948. I ended up getting it, and it's 17th printing, and I guess they just stopped printing it then. But yeah, it's a super cool book. It's about racehorses and beautiful horses and thoroughbreds and Arabians and overcoming adversity as a cool horse. Okay. That's the first one. Super legit, cool as an adult to read. Cool as a kid, cool as an adult. Next up in the list of righteous books that have influenced my life, the old Harry Potter, the old HP. Thank you, J.K. Rowling. Goblet of Fire is not my favorite book. The third book is my favorite book, but this is my favorite movie of them because I love it when they say, well done, dragon. Just love that series. I actually got into it later than most, but was still, because I am old enough, that only like the first couple books were out, and my friend Lori, who's a school teacher, was reading it with her class, and I was like, what is this fucking horseshittery everyone's talking about? Nope, great horseshittery. I started reading it and was like, this book is amazing. And in fact, my really, really good friend, when I was in law school, here's a story for you kids. Back in the day, before we had, the Netflix and the Audibles and all of these online Kindles and shit, you'd actually have to read real books, like actual books that you can touch, physical books. With that, kind of like when movies come out and they premiere at midnight, you would get a midnight booking. So when the book would release of the new in the series or whatever, so say book 5 of the Harry Potter series, would come out at midnight on the release date at a Barnes & Noble or a Borders or any kind of local bookstore, and you'd have a midnight booking. So we would all go, when I was in law school, we would go at midnight and get our Harry Potter books at midnight, because that's how so cool I am. Super nerd alert, everyone. Yeah, I would go to the midnight bookings. That's how OG I am, and also how old I am. So Harry Potter, amazing. Still love it to this day. In fact, the Harry Potter question is one of my dating questions. I have 3 of them. I think we've talked about this. First question is, what house are you in Harry Potter? It's a personality quest. Like, let's be real about this. Like, you can know a lot about a person on which house they fall into in Harry Potter. So that is the first dating question. Which house are you in Harry Potter? Second question, of course, is Rebel or Empire? You can probably guess which one I fall into. And the third question is, when I say the word potato, what comes to mind? The correct answer is potatoes. Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. Yes, that would be correct. Samwise Gamgee is also another appropriate answer. Lord of the Rings, any type of variation of Lord of the Rings. Again, nerd alert. So, Harry Potter, fundamental dating question, if you will. Okay. The next book that has shaped my life is this book called Name of the Wind. It's by Patrick Rothfuss. It is my Bible. I love this book. I don't ever reread books. I've read this book 6 times. It is the most enjoyable book ever. I love it. I love it. I love it. Please, I encourage you to read this. I, however, do not encourage you to read this book if you like closure in your life or things to end. Because Homeboy wrote this book, which is a pure, beautiful masterpiece. He wrote the follow-up, Wise Man Fear, which is also a beautiful, wonderful book to read and to be immersed in. And then he hasn't finished the goddamn series. Yeah, it's been a long time. Let's see when this book actually came out. Oh, this is a signed copy, this one here. Let's see when this one came out. He wrote this in 2007. Let that sink in. 2007. It's what, 2024? Series still not done. So if you like closure, don't read this book. Please, don't torture yourself. Or torture yourself so you'll be tortured with the rest of us. Amazing, amazing book, fantasy book. Just amazing quotes out of this book. It's just phenomenal. It's got some fairy action happening in it. It's got some amazing world building. It has a semi-magic system kind of built in, but it's really not magic. It's more science-based, but it's kind of thing. But more of that, like people describe it, they always say, well, what kind of book is it? And it's like, well, it is technically a fantasy book, I guess, but it's also kind of a romance book in some regards, and it's kind of a hero's adventure book, and like it just kind of fits all the genres. Like I said, this is a beautifully crafted story. It's an amazing book, but homeboy Patrick Rothfuss has not finished the series yet, and I really hope one day he does, but then that will probably be the culmination of his life, and he might die or something. I don't know. Like it's one of those like monkey paw items. I don't really know. But yeah, Name of the Wind. Amazing book. So far we have King of the Wind, and then we have Name of the Wind. So like I said, there's a theme, but an unintentional theme going on here. And then the old Harry Potters. The other book I love, and I don't have the first one here, I have the book 3 of it. It's the Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings series. This is also an amazing book. Sanderson is a prolific writer. Frankly, anything he writes, him and Neil Gaiman, anything that they put out is going to be legit. Neil Gaiman, of course, is an amazing, amazing writer. His book, The Graveyard Book, is a really cool book. Obviously, he wrote American Gods. He wrote Norse mythology. He wrote Caroline. Neil Gaiman is just awesome. And if you can ever listen to him speak or have him narrate the books, he has the most beautiful voice, the most quintessential radio voice you could ever have. He's British, and he just has that cadence, and that, he's just amazing. So anything that Neil Gaiman writes as well, I'll just put that out there too. So back to that. So Sanderson and Gaiman, anything that they put out is going to be pure gold. And so this is the Way of Kings series. This is the 3rd book in that series of the Stormlight Archive. Fantasy again, but also not really fantasy in the sense of just more like people and personalities and interactions. Just super cool books, super, entertaining to read, involved. Obviously they're thick books, they take a lot, but these series are super cool. And this one has a really interesting twist into it where you're like, oh shit, I did not see that coming. Cool. So that's another great series, the Stormlight Archives from Brandon Sanderson. The other book that's amazing, and it's in the same realm of things, and this is the 4th book of this one, and this is a cool series by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and it is, I don't even know how to describe this book. This is a super cool book or series as well. It's set in Barcelona, if you all went and did your study abroad, you have to say Barcelona. So it's set in Barcelona back during the war times, around 30s, 40s, if you will. And the first book of this is called Shadow of the Wind. I don't know where the wind theory, theme comes from, but apparently it has followed me through my life. Like I said, first book, King of the Wind, Name of the Wind. Then we have Shadow of the Wind. There's a lot of wind themes happening here. I don't know. I don't really know. But this is also another amazing series. The language of how this author wrote these books is perfection. It is superb. It is, you could just flip through here and find a passage and you're like, man, that is so perfectly worded. Just how this man writes. He sadly has passed away. Even with this book being translated into English and other languages out of its native Spanish, I can't even imagine how good it is in the native language. It must be mind-blowing, because even translated, which obviously a lot of things get lost in translation, it's still a beautiful read. Just beautiful read. Okay. Another great series there. And then to kind of round it out is the book that all of us entrepreneurs have read, who have made an indelible mark in our lives is The 4-Hour Workweek with Tim Ferriss. Yeah. Anybody who's an entrepreneur has read that book, has loved that book, and has usually been the impetus to say, there's a different way to do this. There's a different way to live life. There's a way where I don't have to kill myself every day. Although, we all gave up the 9 to 5 to work 24/7. But that book is amazing. How it's written, it makes you think about things differently. It makes you think about time differently, how to leverage your time, how to put systems in place, how to delegate. The 4-Hour Workweek is a wonderful book for anybody who is thinking about entrepreneurship or wants to get into it. And that's usually kind of the gateway drug of entrepreneurship is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. So those are the books that I love the most in my life. Of course, I like all books. Right now I'm reading Fourth Wing, which is the Dragon series. What is that Dragon series? I don't know. It's some nerdery book that everybody's reading that everyone likes. Fourth Wing. Super cool. We call it dragon porn. It's pretty spicy. You like that kind of stuff. Ladies, you like that kind of writing. Interesting. I like sci-fi books. I like all that kind of stuff. I like nerdery books. I don't want to read real life at all. I mean, I do like some biographies and things like that. I like listen to Jay Shetty is amazing. He did Think Like a Monk. That's an amazing book. Rachel Rogers and the We Should All Be Millionaires, another great book. These are kind of more business books, entrepreneur books, life books, if you will. But for the checkout books, it would be these Harry Potter type fantasy books are my kind of jam. So got any more recommendations, let me know, or anything that you've read that's been amazing, that's been life altering for you, let me know, because I'm totally down to read that. Or if you just want to talk about nerdery and books, I'm also down to talk about that too. So our wine of the day is the same wine that we have been drinking. It's a nice sparkling wine from Domaine Carneros. I'm just pushing the shit out of this wine today because it's phenomenal. I'm very happy I picked this because it's a bottle to drink today as we record all these. It is Le Rêve. It is a 2015. It's a Blanc de Blanc, which means it's all white. There's no Pinot or anything in like that. And it is a beautifully balanced, nice, sparkling wine. Of course, we can't call it champagne because it's not from the region of Champagne because the French don't fuck around. So this is a nice sparkling wine from Napa, and it is a beautiful wine. Again, if Domaine Carneros would love to sponsor me, I will 100% take that sponsorship and just, rep the shit out of this brand because I can't talk highly enough about their wines. This wine and all their wines are solid. So if you're in the market for wines and you need to go to a dinner party or something, you see one of these, Domaine Carneros, pick it up. You're not going to be sorry. And your guest or your host will be pleasantly happy that you have brought them that and not some other lesser, nicer wines. So again, that's what we're drinking today. It's a sparkling day. And let me know if you'd like to sponsor me. So some people have asked me the question of, do you think we're reading less as a society? And that's kind of an interesting question. And I don't know if that would be true. I sometimes think we might be reading more. We have more ability to read easier. It's not like we have to schlep down to the bookstore and get a hard copy book and drag it around with us. We have any kind of book pretty much at our fingertips. We can download, Kindle or whatever program it is, Libby and all the, even the libraries are all electronic, and you can download any kind of book that you want right now. I mean, I could just be like, bro, I want this book. Yeah, are you talking about it? Yeah, let's get it, and I have it right then and there. So I'm not necessarily thinking we're reading less books. I think we might be reading more. Also, we have, like Audible and things, so we can listen to books too, and that's still reading. So I don't care what people say. You're still reading that book, even though somebody's reading it for you. It's like story time, which how cool is that? So I think there's more accessibility to books at this point than there was before, which is really wonderful. So why I like reading books is, let's be real, society sucks. The world sucks. Everything sucks. So why not escape into something awesome like books? That's why people, go to like shows and music and movies and all that kind of stuff, that escapism, that entertainment. And that's the same thing with books. It's the OG Netflix, essentially, as books. And so you can go into other people's worlds. You can learn stuff. Obviously, you have, biographies and, kind of those fiction books and stuff that you can read that are amazing. Learning from other people, learning through other people's experiences, or just their imagination and seeing things and kind of having that escape and that checkout and just being immersed into another world, which is also really amazing and fun. So all sorts of genres for people that they like. I like the fantasy sci-fi stuff. A lot of other people like kind of the true crime things. I don't. I've worked in that field. I don't want to feel like I'm at work still. Other than that, you can pretty much find a book on anything, which is really, really cool. You want to fix your car, you got that. You want to build a car, you can do that. You want to race a car, you can do that. There's books for all of it, no matter what level you want. Bottom to super high technical, you can get technical manuals, you can get all sorts of stuff, whatever tickles your fancy. So reading is amazing. So let me know what books you like reading, because I'm always down to read more books or see what other people are into, because that's always fun as well. And of course, let me know in the comments. I'll have all the books in the show notes, so if you want to look them up, because they're amazing to me and they're kind of fundamental in my life and my upbringing, if you will. So of course, when you think of death, think of me. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you found value, please like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to follow me on all the socials at Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And of course, you can always go to my website, sipsandtipswithlindsay.com, to find more information about estate planning, business, snowboard, travel, and of course, wine.